I was in a room full of 479 multimillionaires. Average net worth was $16 million in that room. Average take home was $1 million and like 7,000. They said, who's financially free? I was one of maybe 20% that raised their hand.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Because you just keep your expenses low.
Nobody else even thought about it.
Oh, interesting. Well, tell me more about that.
Yeah. So a lot of people that are traditionally wealthy, a lot of people in the room had like sold big companies or, had really well-paying jobs, and they're doctors and lawyers and had invested for 20 years as like LPs in multifamily or stuff like that. And none of them were really completely focused on their actual expenses. And so we did an exercise for people that were there were billionaires in the room. We literally did the same exercise that we take people through, which is like, how much do you spend? Because it doesn't matter what you put in the bucket. If there's holes in the bucket, it's going to leak out. And so we literally did that for 479 people, these multimillionaires and billionaires. And it was ridiculous, dude. There's 3 different numbers that you can pick. So from when it comes to your expenses, 3 different levels, and that's survive, arrive, and thrive. So survive is how much are your fixed expenses? The name of the game is how do we avoid as much as possible fixed expense and keep that as low as we can. Variable is okay because if most of my expense is variable. So push comes to shove, if they say, hey, you need to stop traveling in Europe real quick and come back home and hunker down, I can hunker down if I want to. Stop ordering DoorDash every meal, go get some groceries, I can do that. But if you have all of these giant bills to pay that are fixed bills, like you can't get out of them. So survive is how much your fixed expenses. Arrive is how much are your fixed plus some discretionary. You're going out to eat and doing some fun stuff. Thrive is how much for you to do whatever the hell you want to do. Period. Full stop. And so I did those numbers and we did them while we were there as well. So he has a different way of doing them, but survive, arrive, and thrive works best for me and our community. So we did those, and then we started doing our dream life buckets. And that was interesting for me because that was a lot of those fixed expenses that I was like, oh, dude, that's not worth it. But I had somebody next to me that was a billionaire, and I was like, I don't need to do that. He goes, just so you know, like, that's like a grocery payment for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, got it. So while advice that I give to people isn't to focus on the material, I would also say, like, they did help me to create a dream life if anything was possible. And then for me, it ended up being, I think, like $4.5 million if I could do anything I wanted in the world, which is having a $5 million house, flying private, having a yacht. I do want to have a yacht. So, and then having like private chef, live-in nanny, all of this different stuff. Like there's so many things that you don't think about. And I calculated it all for a family of 4. I was just like, so how much would I have to make for this to be inconsequential? Instead of me like being angry at it and thinking it was wasteful and thinking like this watch that I have right now is a $22,000 watch. And there was a period of my time where I thought that was wasteful. And there's today, I think like a $200,000 watch. I'm like, who would do that? But now I've kind of changed my thought to how can you do that and afford it comfortably? I'm just kind of curious, And so I kind of changed my tune to that a little bit. So I'm working through that right now. And so I created a new framework for that because then I said, okay, well, for me to do 4.5 spending, then I'll need to take home 11 and then pre-tax, right? So I need to take home 11. So I'm taking home 11 at like a 40% EBITDA margin. Then I need to have like a $45 million a year business. It's like, okay, I think I could do that in 10 years. I was like, so wait a second. Like, there's a path here. Even to my wildest, dizziest daydream, there's a path here. It's like, okay, well, let's keep going down this rabbit hole. Is there a framework here? And so I created the V3 framework, which is vision, value, vehicle. And so it goes, what's the vision for your dream life? Value is how much does that dream life cost in different segments? So home, automotive, transportation, food, family, philanthropy, investing, all of this stuff. And so I literally wrote it all down. I was like, okay, cool. Well, here would be my vision. Here's how much it would cost. Tack on 50%, right? So that 11 million went to 20 million because I'm like, I also want to save 50%. So everything that I buy, I want to still save 50% of my income, right? And so that's where I got that 40% number for 45. And so I was like, oh, okay. So 45 million for my business is the number. And then you just work backwards from there. So that could sound overwhelming to some, but you can use that at the smallest scale. You can scale that up or down however you want to, but vision, value, vehicle, because then the vehicle is, okay, well, how am I going to accomplish this, right?
So how do you get people to dream that big?
Some are naturally more like attuned to it. Like that's my biggest thing. It's like my job on this earth is to have a vision that's so big that I could take people with big visions that I could fit them within mine. That's how you attract talent.
Did you get that from Alex?
No, I got that from Gary Keller.
Gary Keller. Okay. Yeah. Because Dan says that too.
Yeah.
Create your dreams so big enough that others can fit underneath it.
Correct. So it's like hiring one-on-one because the level of mentor that appears to you will be in direct correlation to the level of the problem that you're solving.
Interesting.
Think about it. So you're buying hotels now. So say that you find a hotel mentor that's got $1 billion hospitality portfolio. And you say, Eric, or you say, Hospitality Hank,
me and Hank.
I want you to mentor me to build up my portfolio. And then he's like, Kassidy, what are you buying? Tell me your vision. You go, I want to buy one Airbnb in Tucson, Arizona a year. You say, dude, take a long walk off a short pier. I'm not helping you with that. That's boring. But if you say, I want to build $1 billion portfolio in the next 4 years, you say, well, I've done that in 10. I wonder how you could do it in 4. I think I could help. And so that's my life, is I just create these giant goals because it attracts these giant mentors into my life because it's interesting to them. And if you want interesting people to hang out with you, I'm sorry, the cheat code is do interesting shit.
Yeah. 100%.
Period.
Yeah.
Do interesting things.
And it could be a different level of interesting, right? You could be really into Pokemon cards, and be a nerd about Pokemon cards and go hang out with other Pokemon card collectors. Like that's totally cool. But we're talking real estate business and bigger money and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. And to like circle all the way back to you asked the original question, which was, what are the differences between where I'm at today and $10 million CEO? So I actually think a $10 million CEO is like small. Like that's just what I want to become next year. Like by the time I'm 40, I'll be used to multi-9 figures, like running through my P&L, like in a decade, like 1,000%. I think I can do it in 5 years, but for sure in a decade. So what I do is do this process called immersion yields conversion. That's my favorite quote. And what I do is whatever goal I have, I go surround myself and immerse myself in rooms of people that have all done the thing. And then the next thing I do is I look at what these people are doing and I document all of their actions, all of their habits, all of their ways of being, to the point of what time do they wake up? When do they go to bed? How are they moving? How do they speak on a podcast in real life? How do they treat people? Who's around them? And I take the actions that they're doing and I ask the multi-million-dollar question, which is, they're where I want to be. Here's where I'm at today. What are the differences between the two people? And then the discrepancies are what I do.